Hey, look at that. I'm back again. Imagine that. Okay, so this is the last dialogue rule I have. Dialogue rule number 9. Let's put it right there. Okay, minimize your dialogue tags. You can see I used the word cloud tool and I looked at how my words were distributed. And here, let me put the word cloud website link right down here at the bottom. Boop, there. Okay, so this is a really cool tool. I pasted my paragraphs into the text area and then I ran it and it showed me I used said a lot and asked was the second most. And so this tells me I had way too many saids, way too many dialogue tags. That's what said is, a dialogue tag. Some people will call them dialogue identifiers. I kind of go back and forth. But what's important is you minimize the number of times you use said. You don't want to replace said with replied or asked or suggested or any of that because said is a word that tends to be invisible to readers. You're not going to echo with said. You won't have echoing problems, but if you have a lot of saids, you're going to have other problems. Your dialogue's going to feel clunky and uncomfortable. And so you want to minimize using it as much as you can. I try in a chapter to use said only once. I very rarely do it. I probably use it 2 or 3 times in a 2,000 word chapter. But that's what I shoot for, is try to use it only once. Ideally, I don't want to use it at all. But I have a hard time coming up with different ways to eliminate it. So what I'm going to show you is, here's an example. We'll look at the example from above, and then we put that paragraph up here again. And when you look at this dialogue, you see, game night, what happened to your armor? Digger asked. And then the next one, well, game night said, then coughed. He reached into blah, 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 and then at the end, but I politely refused, game night added. Digger offered him a piece of chicken, blah, blah, blah. Game night glanced at Digger. There were new nicks and scratches in his sword, game night said with a smile. So I have, on each paragraph, let's see, I got a dialogue tag in the first paragraph, the second paragraph. There's no dialogue in the third paragraph, and a dialogue tag in the fourth. So every place where there's dialogue, I have a dialogue tag, and that ain't good. That's bad. Here's how I would write it without the dialogue tag. Let me put the updated one. Boop, there we go. Game night, what happened to your armor? Digger rushed to his friend's side. Rather than saying Digger said and rushed to his friend's side, I get out the said. I just get rid of it. Digger rushed to his friend's side and put a muscular arm around him, helping his friend to stand. So since Digger is the one moving, and I have that sentence right in there with the dialogue, it identifies Digger as the person talking. Well, game night coughed, then pulled out a flask of water and drank. So again, I took out the said, and I just used it in that sentence to identify what game night was doing. And it identifies him as the speaker. It includes the action. And I'll tell you, the big secret with how to get rid of dialogue tags is add action in your dialogue. Reached to his chest plate, ran his finger over the deep grooves. They wanted me to stay with them, but I politely refused. I got rid of the game night added at the end. We don't need that. Next paragraph, Digger offered him some chicken. There's no dialogue there. The last paragraph. Game night glanced at Digger and smiled, then drew his diamond sword. There were a handful of new nicks and scratches on it. Yep. I didn't have to say he said, because I have game night glanced at Digger. Game night is the one doing the action. He drew his diamond sword. And when he speaks yep, I know that means that's game night is the one that's talking. So in this case, I was able to get rid of every dialogue tag. And the dialogue reads a lot better. If you read the first one out loud and the second one out loud, you'll see the second one just flows better because Digger said always breaks up the rhythm of the sentence. And getting rid of those saids are always better. And so that's a valuable thing for you to look at when you write your papers, if you do it in Google Docs or if you do it in Word. What I will do is I will search for the word said and see how many times it appears in my story. And I'll go to each one and see, is there a way that I can get rid of that said and add some kind of action instead of the dialogue tag. And if you do that to your story, you're going to make your dialogue sound 2 million times better. Yeah, I thought it was just 1,000,000, but I recalculated. 2 million times better. So look at that, look at your dialogue tags, and decide, can you replace that dialogue tag with some action or with some kind of sensory thing? Like, I think there's a fire burning, Joe said. Instead, you could say, I think there's a fire burning. Joe sniffed and could smell the smoke in the air. So you see, you could have an action term there to identify Joe, and that works much better in that sentence. So think about this, look at your dialogue. I hope this is helpful. Remember, rule number 1 is rule number 1 for a reason. There. Dialogue and action drives the story, and that dialogue piece is half of your story. It's probably more. You probably have more dialogue than action, which is typical. And that dialogue is going to reveal the characters, is going to create conflict and tension. It's really important you make your dialogue really tight and really good and really interesting. I hope this is helpful. Keep writing. Watch out for creepers. Mark is out.